Our families before us would have loved to have a house this size. And there's plenty of people who would love to have a house this size, who are trying desperately to break into the Utah housing market, people that have grown up here their whole lives and can't afford to get a house. So let's just recognize how incredibly fortunate we are that we did buy our house 14 years ago. Welcome to the Frugal Family. My name is Julie, and this is my castle. Oh yes, this is my little piece of the American dream. It is a starter home, and we moved in 14 years ago. And we're not moving out anytime soon. That's right, we are staying in our starter home on purpose. Mariah is starting to empty the fridge.
I already have the top.
Fabulous.
I already got the milk out.
Wonderful. We got to get this sucker cleaned out. Yikes. We were actually pretty convinced that we needed to move on just like a couple months ago. We were ready to sell the house. I had spoken to my realtor friend. We were like done because of issues with neighbors and you know, the size and not having room and all of those things. We were really getting frustrated and we were like, let's just do it. Let's start looking at what's out there. Well, in just like a week, the average median, the median price of a home in Utah, it seemed like it had gone up like $50,000 in like a day. Or was it a week? I don't know, but it's just been going and going and going. And so yes, our property value has gone up along with our property taxes. It keeps going up and going up, but all the houses that we could potentially live in, well, their value. Their prices are also going up, leaving us in this conundrum where, what do? Yes, we would love to move on to a bigger house. We would absolutely love that. But it's just not financially responsible. We want to be able to enjoy our lives, to still be able to travel and have experiences and make memories and not have our every living, breathing moment devoted to paying for a house that we can't really afford. We are the Frugal Family. We are making the best life that we can, as full and fabulous as possible, while remaining frugal. And it is possible, hopefully it's possible, to stay in a starter home and make it comfortable. Our families before us would have loved to have a house this size. And there's plenty of people who would love to have a house this size, who are trying desperately to break into the Utah housing market, people that have grown up here their whole lives and can't afford to get a house. So let's just recognize how incredibly fortunate we are that we did buy our house 14 years ago. Because there's no way we could afford to buy a house, no way we would get approved, none of that today. When people are paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on top of an asking price for a house right now. Even for little houses, little starter homes like this, we absolutely could not afford it. So I do want to recognize that and acknowledge we're really lucky. But also at the same time, people lived in houses this small. You go back to like the 40s and the 50s, this would have been a perfectly sized house. Like it would have been fine. People would have made do. But now we just have so much more stuff, and the stuff, the extras, the convenience items, all of it, the collections, the passions, the projects, all of it adds up and takes up so much more space than grandma and great grandma and whoever else takes up so much more space than it did then. That's what I feel like, that we just have so much more stuff. Well, it's time to change that. If we're going to stay in a starter home, which we are, we have to make room. Now, would I love to build on? Yes. And we do have the space to build on. We do have room in our yard. We gratefully have a pretty good sized yard. But lumber prices are still really high. We're kind of stuck in this place where we can't sell and move and afford something else, and we can't afford to add on because the prices for all of that, like everything else, including your milk, have gone through the roof. So we can't afford either one. We are right here. This is where we are, and we are gonna make the most of it. And the only way to get more space when we can't move on to a bigger house and we can't build on to make this a bigger house, only way to make more space is to get rid of stuff to maximize the space we already have. So let's take a note from those 1940s and 50s families, and let's downsize the clutter so that we have a little more space. I'm not saying those were perfect times, but I do think there are some things that we could absolutely benefit from emulating and incorporating into our lives. Teamwork. Mimi cleaned it out, like emptied it, and then Mommy scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed.
And then put it back together.
Nice job.
Yeah. And
Boom.
there's a lot of things that she threw away.
Yeah.
That were in it.
Unfortunately. And that is anti-frugal, guys. Having to throw wasted food away is not a frugal activity. Keeping the fridge clean is a frugal activity. So is shutting it so we're not wasting electricity. I've also been reminiscing on Little House on the Prairie. I love those books. I've read the series I don't know how many times on my own as a child, then as an adult, then with my kids. And they had just minimal, absolutely minimal possessions. And they lived good, full lives. We are just addicted to stuff. Now, myself, with a long history as a dumpster diver, of course, that's going to add so much more. And especially as a YouTube dumpster diver and bringing in so much stuff over these last 5 years. I've been dumpster diving actually for much, much longer than that, but on YouTube, 5 years. Bringing in all that stuff week after week after week. Of course, we have ended up with way, way too much. So channel, guys, channel your inner Laura Ingalls Wilder and her family. Channel that. You've got your violin, you've got your doll that you made, you've got your bed and that couple of special blankets that the family has had forever, and your butter churn. Okay? Those are the things you have. And you make the most of every item that you have. You make the most of the space that you have. Have you ever seen the little cabins? There are so many of them around here. From like the pioneers, it's Utah, okay? Lots of pioneer history. The 49ers came through for the gold rush. We have it all. The Donner Party came through here. So many little tiny cabins, all right? All over, just in public parks. They have these historic cabins. They're tiny. And guess what? They made it work. We are spoiled. We are so spoiled. It's such a different time and a different situation. And I know that it's apples and oranges comparing us to Little House on the Prairie days. But there are elements of it that still hold true. And the biggest one, the main one is we do not need as much space as is the average house in the United States anymore. We don't need that much space. Now, would it be nice when it comes to having family gatherings? Especially in the winter. Now in summer, no problem. I have a huge yard. We can put up awnings, canopies, but the rest of the time, which is about half the year because it's Utah, you never know what the weather's going to do. We had sleet and hail today and also warm sunny skies. So you just never know. But it would be nice to have one big open room here in the house where I could have all my family come and gather because I love to have family over. And maybe someday we can do that. But that's just not where we are right now. You can live an amazing, wonderful life without all the stuff filling up your home. Stuff that you don't even use, you haven't even looked at in how many years. Let it move on. Let it go so that you have more space. That's what we're working on here and trying to make happen and trying to embrace the starter home life with a Laura Ingalls Wilder twist. It is so much easier to put your groceries away with a clean refrigerator. So what I want to do is have this top left corner be for opened things, like we have some spaghetti sauce and some Alfredo and some beef broth and some whipped topping. I want to have this section be dedicated to those opened items so that we use them before they go bad. This is kind of what I'm thinking. If we organize this, for instance, moving things that need to be in these other places to where they need to go, maybe we will avoid the waste. What about onions? Do you think it will affect the other things if I keep these chopped onions in there with them, I'm gonna err on the side of caution. I'm gonna put them right there. Something else I have going on is all of these tortillas, some of which have already gotten kind of stale and crunchy because kids forgot to zip up the bags. So I have ideas for these. Then we have, not sure what this is, something someone made. This is a Tupperware, and I have leftovers from the other night's dinner in a Tupperware. The plan for these, I'm going to experiment with a few different recipes to get an idea of what we can do with stale tortillas, just so that we don't waste them. Then I want to have this section be for Tupperware, and to check it every day and have a designated leftover night where we clear that out, every couple of days. I don't even want to say once a week because some of the things can go bad really quickly. Having an organized refrigerator, I sure hope, is going to save us some money, especially with grocery prices the way that they are, having designated spots. And also, I am going to take stock. I'm going to have an inventory. And I've got this handy dandy magnetic notepad right here so that I can, one of you mentioned this, that you write down what you have and then you note like what you need and you keep track of it. Well, I loved that idea. I wish I could remember who wrote it, but I am going to try that myself. This is what we're trying to avoid. I am so ashamed. I didn't even want to show you guys this, but then I thought, you know what? Frugal Mama is transparent. Frugal Mama is honest. She tells them what is going on. So I am going to try to salvage seeds from the peppers so that at least we get something out of them, and then the rest will be composted. Thank you so much for watching. I absolutely appreciate you coming along with us on this journey of embracing our small space, our starter home, and making the most of it, making it comfortable, making it enjoyable, making it efficient, making it work for our family, and helping our kids and ourselves to be grateful. We are grateful, but to be more grateful, to really understand how incredibly lucky, how fortunate we are to have a home of our own, the American dream in this day and age, in this crazy financial and housing market. We are so lucky, but I think we forget that because we're always comparing ourselves, with other houses that people have and other cars and other things. You can't help it. It's a human thing. We do that. But I think by embracing our home and clearing out the clutter and making the spaces welcoming and enjoyable, we will feel more gratitude for what we do have. Appreciate you coming along for this and being part of this latest adventure, this journey in our lives. I do hope that you are subscribed and that you will leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either way is fine, but we would, of course, prefer a thumbs up. We'll see you all very soon.